The small town of Millbrook had always been quiet. People knew each other by name, and the biggest news usually came from the annual corn festival or high school football games. But on a cold Tuesday morning in October, everything changed. Sheriff Rodriguez was making his usual rounds when he spotted something strange near Miller's Creek. At first, he thought it was just debris from the storm that had passed through the night before. But as he got closer, his heart started racing. What he found would change not just his life, but the entire town's future. It was a girl, but not like any girl he had ever seen. She looked young, maybe 17 or 18, but her skin had a soft glow that seemed to shimmer in the morning light. Her arms and legs were longer than normal, and her eyes were bigger than any human eyes should be. She was breathing, but barely alive. Rodriguez called for help immediately. The town's small medical clinic was buzzing with activity. Dr. Kim arrived first, followed by 2 government vehicles that nobody had called. Word spread fast in a town like Millbrook, and by evening, half the population was gathered outside the clinic, whispering and pointing. The girl had been moved to a special room that the government people had set up. They brought in machines and equipment that looked like something from a science fiction movie. Dr. Kim, who'd been treating patients in Millbrook for 20 years, had never seen anything like it. "She's not human," Dr. Kim whispered to Rodriguez when they thought no one was listening. "But she's definitely alive, and she's in pain." The government team was led by Dr. Park, a serious woman who wore glasses and carried a thick folder everywhere. She explained to the town officials that this was a matter of national security, but she also seemed genuinely interested in helping the strange girl. "We're calling her Luna," Dr. Park said during a private meeting with the mayor and sheriff. "She seems to respond to light and sound, which suggests intelligence. We need to study her to understand where she came from and why she's here." But not everyone in town was happy about having an alien visitor. Some people were scared. Others were angry. Few families even packed up and left town, afraid that more aliens might be coming. Jake Wilson, who owned the local garage, found himself thinking about the girl more than he wanted to admit. He had been a soldier years ago, and had seen enough strange things in his life to know that sometimes the most unusual situations needed the most normal responses. Unlike other people in town who crowded around the clinic trying to get a look at Luna, Jake simply offered to help. He brought coffee for the doctors and nurses who were working long hours. He helped carry equipment. He even sat in the waiting room sometimes, just in case they needed an extra pair of hands. One evening, while Jake was helping clean up after a long day of tests, he heard something that made him stop. It was a soft humming sound, like a lullaby, coming from Luna's room. When he peeked through the doorway, he saw something that surprised him. Luna was sitting up in bed, looking out the window at the stars. Her skin was glowing softly, changing colors like a slow rainbow. She wasn't making the humming sound with her mouth. It seemed to come from somewhere deeper, like her whole body was singing. Jake had never heard anything so beautiful or so sad at the same time. "She does that every night," Dr. Park said quietly, appearing beside him. "We think she's trying to communicate with her home." "Where do you think she's from?" Jake asked. Dr. Park looked at Luna through the window. "Somewhere very far away. And I don't think she came here by choice." As the days passed, more government people arrived. They set up a small camp outside town and brought in more equipment. They were polite to the townspeople, but it was clear they were taking over. Luna's condition slowly improved. She started eating the food they gave her, though she seemed to prefer fruits and vegetables. She learned to recognize the people who visited her regularly. She began to show signs of understanding English, though she couldn't speak it yet. The most interesting thing was how she reacted to different people. Some of the government scientists made her skin turn dark colors, and she would curl up in her bed like she was trying to hide. But when certain people came near, her skin would glow brighter, and she would sit up and pay attention. Jake was one of the people who made her glow brighter. Dr. Park noticed this pattern and started asking Jake to spend more time around Luna. "She responds well to you," she explained. "We think she can sense emotions, and yours seem to calm her down." Jake didn't understand why, but he found himself looking forward to these visits. Luna couldn't speak, but she was clearly intelligent. She would point to pictures and books and nod or shake her head when asked questions. She learned to write simple words on paper, though her handwriting looked more like art than letters. One day, Luna drew a picture that made everyone in the room go quiet. It showed a large, round object in the sky, with smaller objects falling from it. Below the objects, she drew stick figures of people who looked like her, but some of them had X marks over them. "I think she's trying to tell us what happened to her," Dr. Park said. "She might be a refugee." This changed everything. If Luna was running from something, then maybe she wasn't a threat at all. Maybe she was just a scared young girl who was very far from home. But not everyone saw it that way. Some people in town started spreading rumors that Luna was dangerous, that she was part of an invasion, that more aliens were coming. The atmosphere in Millbrook became tense. Jake found himself defending Luna to people who had never even met her. "She's just a kid," he would tell them. "She's scared and alone, and she needs help." "How do you know she's not lying?" they would ask. "How do you know this isn't all part of some alien plan?" Jake didn't have good answers to these questions. He just knew that when he looked at Luna, he saw someone who needed protection, not someone who was dangerous. As winter approached, more government officials arrived in Millbrook. They set up a larger facility and brought in equipment that looked more serious and more scary. Dr. Park seemed worried about something, but she wouldn't talk about it. Luna had learned to say a few words in English by then. Her voice was softer and more musical than human voices, but she could make herself understood. The first complete sentence she spoke was to Jake. "Thank you for being kind," she said one evening as he was getting ready to leave. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Not because she was alien, but because she was so grateful for such simple kindness. It made him realize how lonely she must be, surrounded by people who saw her as a science experiment instead of a person. That night, Jake made a decision that would change everything. He decided that no matter what the government people planned to do, he would make sure Luna was treated with dignity and respect. He didn't know it yet, but this decision would soon put him in direct conflict with people who had very different ideas about what Luna was and what should happen to her. The first part of their story was ending, but the real test was just beginning. In a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business, keeping secrets was about to become a matter of life and death. 3 weeks after Luna's arrival, a new team arrived in Millbrook. They came in black SUVs with tinted windows and set up their equipment without asking anyone's permission. The leader was a tall woman with cold eyes who introduced herself as Dr. Stone. She wore expensive suits and carried herself like someone who was used to getting her way. Dr. Park, who had been taking care of Luna, seemed nervous around the new team. Jake noticed how Dr. Park's friendly demeanor changed whenever Dr. Stone was around. She became quiet and formal, like a student afraid of disappointing a strict teacher. "We're here to conduct some important research," Dr. Stone announced to the town council. "This situation presents a unique opportunity to understand how humans and non-humans can work together. The results could change the future of our species." Mayor Johnson, who had been trying to keep everyone calm since Luna's arrival, asked the obvious question. "What kind of research?" Dr. Stone smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "We want to see how humans react when someone they care about is in trouble. It's basic psychology, really. We believe that emotional bonds between species could be the key to peaceful coexistence." Jake was in the back of the room during this meeting, and something about Dr. Stone's words made his stomach turn. He had seen that kind of smile before, during his time in the military. It was the smile of someone who had already decided what they were going to do, regardless of what anyone else thought. After the meeting, Jake tried to talk to Dr. Park. "What's really going on here?" he asked. "Luna is just starting to trust people. Why do they want to mess with that?" Dr. Park looked around nervously before answering. "They think that if they can make humans form strong emotional attachments to non-humans, it could be useful for future contact situations. They want to understand the process." "And how exactly do they plan to do that?" Jake asked. Dr. Park's face went pale. "By creating situations where humans feel the need to protect her." The next day, Jake arrived at the facility to find that everything had changed. Luna's comfortable room had been replaced with something that looked more like a laboratory. In the center was a tall, clear tube that looked like a giant test tube. Wires and monitors surrounded it, and there were cameras pointing at it from every angle. Luna was sitting in a corner, and her skin was flickering between dark purple and gray. Jake had learned that these colors meant she was scared or upset. When she saw him, her skin shifted to a soft blue, which meant she was happy to see a familiar face. "Jake," she said in her musical voice, "something bad is coming." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, kneeling down beside her. Luna pointed to the tube. "They want to put me in there." The woman, with cold eyes, "She thinks it will make you care more about me." Jake felt his blood run cold. "How do you know that?" "I can feel what people are thinking when they have strong emotions," Luna explained. "She thinks that if you see me in danger, you will try to save me. She wants to study that." This was the first time Luna had explained her abilities clearly. Jake realized that she had been reading people's emotions since she arrived, which explained why she was so good at knowing who to trust. "Luna, I need you to listen to me carefully," Jake said. "No matter what they do, I want you to remember that some humans are good and some are not. Don't judge all of us by what the bad ones do." Luna nodded, her skin shifting to a warm yellow. That Jake had learned meant she understood and agreed. The experiments began the next morning. Dr. Stone explained that they were stress response tests. It's designed to measure how Luna reacted to different situations. They placed her in the clear tube and began monitoring her vital signs. At first, the tests seemed harmless. They played different sounds, changed the lighting, and asked her to perform simple tasks. But Jake could see that Luna was getting more and more distressed. Her skin kept shifting to darker colors, and she started making that humming sound again. But now it sounded sad and frightened. "She's scared," Jake told Dr. Stone. "This isn't right, Mr. Wilson." Dr. Stone replied without looking at him. "We're not hurting her, simply observing her responses to controlled stimuli. This is valuable scientific research." But Jake knew the difference between research and something else. He had seen interrogation techniques before, and this was starting to look familiar. They were deliberately making Luna uncomfortable to see how she would react. As the days went by, the experiments got worse. They would leave Luna in the tube for hours at a time. It would flash bright lights at her, play loud noises, and even change the temperature inside the tube. Luna's skin began to lose its natural glow, and she started losing weight. Jake tried to visit her every day, but Dr. Stone's team was making it harder and harder for him to get access. They claimed that outside interference was affecting their results. One evening, Jake managed to sneak into the facility after hours. He found Luna curled up in the tube, barely conscious. Her skin was a dull gray color that he had never seen before. "Luna," he whispered, "can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly, and when she saw him, a faint flicker of blue appeared in her skin. "Jake," she whispered, "they want to see if you will save me." "What do you mean?" "Tomorrow, they are going to do something that will make you very scared. They want to see if you will risk yourself to help me." The cold-eyed woman, she thinks this will prove something important. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "Luna, I need you to hold on, okay? I'm going to find a way to stop this, Jake," Luna said, her voice getting weaker. "Even if you can't stop them, I want you to know that meeting you showed me that some humans have good hearts. That matters more than what the others do to me." Jake had to bite his lip to keep from crying. Here was someone from another world, being treated terribly by his own species, and she was trying to comfort him. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Luna's words and Dr. Stone's cold smile. He realized that the experiments weren't really about understanding Luna at all. They were about understanding humans. Dr. Stone was using Luna's suffering to see how far people would go to protect someone they cared about. The next morning, Jake arrived at the facility to find a crowd of people from town. Dr. Stone had invited them to observe what she called a breakthrough in interspecies emotional research. Jake saw the tube had been modified. There were new machines attached to it, and warning lights were flashing. Luna was inside, and her skin was flickering rapidly between different colors. She looked terrified. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Stone announced, "today we're going to test the limits of human compassion." We're going to see exactly how much someone will risk to save another being, even one who isn't human. Jake felt his heart start racing. He looked at Luna, who was staring directly at him through the glass. Her skin was pulsing with a deep red, color that he had never seen before. Then he realized what that color meant. It meant goodbye. Dr. Stone was planning something that would put Luna in real danger, and she expected him to risk everything to save her. This wasn't research anymore. This was manipulation of the cruelest kind. Jake looked around the room at the faces of his neighbors. Some looked excited, others looked worried, but none of them seemed to understand what was really happening. Luna was about to become the victim of an experiment designed to prove that humans would sacrifice themselves for someone they loved, even if that someone was from another world. And Jake realized that Dr. Stone was right about one thing. He would risk everything to save Luna. The question was whether he would be fast enough to stop what was coming next. Part 3. The Bond Expanded Story. Jake couldn't sleep after seeing Luna in that tube. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her frightened face and the way her skin had turned that deep red color. He knew something terrible was going to happen, and he felt helpless to stop it. The next morning, he decided to take a risk. He had noticed that the security guards changed shifts at 6 in the morning, and there was always a 15-minute gap when no one was watching the back entrance. Jake had been a soldier once, and he still remembered how to move quietly. He slipped into the facility just as the sun was coming up. The hallways were empty, but he could hear machines humming in the distance. Following the sound, he found Luna's room. She was sitting by the window staring out at the sky. Her skin was a pale silver color that Jake had never seen before. When she heard him come in, she turned around, and her face lit up with a soft golden glow. "Jake," she whispered. "Came back. I told you I would," Jake said, sitting down beside her. "How are you feeling?" Luna was quiet for a moment. "Scared," she said finally, "but also happy that you're here. Your emotions are so warm, they make me feel safe." This was the first time Luna had really talked about her ability to sense feelings. Jake was curious, but also worried about what she might be picking up from him. "Luna, can you tell me more about your people, where you come from?" Luna's skin shifted to a soft blue, which Jake knew meant she was remembering something pleasant. "My world is very far from here. We call it Astera. It's mostly water, with floating cities that move with the tides. My people are healers and explorers. We travel between worlds to help others and learn new things. So you're not the first of your kind to travel to other planets?" "No," Luna said, her skin flickering with different colors as she spoke. "But I'm the first to crash land and get stuck. My ship was damaged in a storm between the stars. I was trying to reach a safe place to make repairs, but I ended up here instead." Jake felt his heart ache for her. "Do you have family back home?" Luna's skin turned a deep purple, and Jake realized he had asked a painful question. "I had a sister," she said quietly. "She was with me when our ship was attacked. Pirates from the dark sector were trying to steal our medical supplies. I managed to escape, but she didn't." "Sorry," Jake said, and he meant it. He had lost people in the war, and he knew how that kind of pain felt. "Your sorrow feels the same as mine," Luna said, looking at him with those large, expressive eyes. "Different cause, same feeling. That's how I know you understand." Over the next few days, Jake found ways to visit Luna more often. He would bring her books, though she was more interested in the pictures than the words. He brought her music, and she would hum along in that haunting voice of hers. He even brought her drawings made by kids from the local school, which made her skin glow with happiness. During these visits, Jake learned more about Luna's world and her people. She told him about the floating cities, the great libraries of healing knowledge, and the way her people could share emotions and thoughts when they touched. She also told him about the war that had forced her to leave home. "My people are peaceful," she explained. "But there are others in the galaxy who see our healing abilities as a threat. They think we might make their enemies stronger, so they try to destroy us." "Is that why you're afraid to go back?" Jake asked. Luna nodded. "If I return, I might lead them to more of my people. But if I stay here, I might never see home again." Jake felt a strange mix of emotions. He was sad for Luna's situation. But he was also relieved that she might stay on Earth. Over the weeks, he had grown to care about her in ways he didn't fully understand. One evening, as they were sitting together, looking out at the stars, Luna said something that surprised him. "Jake, I need to tell you something about the woman with cold eyes." "Dr. Stone, yes. I can feel her thoughts when she's angry or excited. She's planning something bad, something that will put me in real danger." Jake felt his blood run cold. "What kind of danger?" "She wants to create a situation where you think I might die. She believes that if you risk your life to save me, it will prove that humans can form deep emotional bonds with non-humans. She wants to study that bond, Luna. That's insane. She can't just risk your life for an experiment." Luna's skin shifted to a warm yellow, which Jake had learned meant she was feeling grateful or affectionate. "That's what I hoped you would say. Your people have a saying about love being stronger than fear. I think you prove that's true." Jake felt his face get warm. "Luna, I know," she said softly. "I can feel it. And I want you to know that I feel the same way. My people don't usually form bonds with other species, but you're different. You see me as a person, not just an alien." Jake reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm and soft, and he could feel a gentle tingling where they touched. "Luna, when this is all over, would you want to stay here with me?" Luna's skin began to glow with the most beautiful colors Jake had ever seen. "I would like to." "That very much," she said. "But first, we need to survive whatever Dr. Stone is planning." As if she had been listening to their conversation, Dr. Stone's voice came over the intercom. "Mr. Wilson, please report to the main laboratory. We have some important tests to conduct." Jake looked at Luna, and her skin was already shifting too. That deep red color again? She knew what was coming. "Remember," Luna whispered, "whatever happens, don't let her make you do something that will hurt you. I can handle whatever she does to me, but I can't handle knowing that you were hurt because of me. Luna, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And I'm not going to let anything happen to you," she replied. "That's what people do when they love each other, isn't it? They protect each other." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "Yes, it is." They walked toward the laboratory. Jake realized that somewhere along the way, he had fallen in love with Luna. Not because she was exotic or different, but because she was kind, intelligent, and brave. She had shown him what it meant to care about someone more than yourself. The problem was that Dr. Stone was counting on exactly that feeling to make her experiment work. They entered the laboratory to find a crowd of people waiting for them. Government. Officials, scientists, and even some townspeople were there. In the center of the room was a new machine that looked even more dangerous than the tube. Dr. Stone smiled that cold smile of hers. "Ah, Mr. Wilson, perfect timing. We're about to begin. The most important phase of our research." Jake looked at Luna, whose skin was now flickering rapidly between different colors. She was trying to be brave, but he could see how scared she was. "What exactly are you planning to do?" Jake asked. Dr. Stone's smile got wider. "We're going to find out just how far love can push someone to go." And in that moment, Jake realized that the real experiment wasn't about Luna at all. It was about him and what he would do to save someone he loved. Dr. Stone had been studying him all along, waiting for this moment when his emotions would be strong enough to die, to make him do something desperate. The question was whether Jake would be smart enough to save Luna without falling into Dr. Stone's trap. Part 4. The Revelation. Expanded Storydar. Park had been acting strange for days. Jake noticed how she kept looking over her shoulder and jumping at small sounds. She would start to say something, then stop herself and walk away. Finally, on a rainy Thursday morning, she pulled Jake aside behind the facility. "We need to talk," she said, her voice shaking, "but not here. Meet me at the old diner on Highway 9 at 8 tonight. Come alone." Jake spent the rest of the day wondering what Dr. Park wanted to tell him. He had a feeling it was something important, something that Dr. Stone didn't want him to know. When evening came, he drove to the diner, his heart pounding. Dr. Park was already there, sitting in a corner booth with a cup of coffee that had gone cold. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. When Jake sat down across from her, she immediately started talking. I can't keep quiet anymore, she said. What they're doing to Luna isn't research. It's something much worse. What do you mean, Doctor? Park pulled out a tablet and showed Jake a series of documents. I've been recording everything since Dr. Stone arrived. Look at this. Jake looked at the screen and saw charts, graphs, and video footage. Most of it was technical stuff he didn't understand, but some of it was clear enough. There were recordings of Luna in the tube, measurements of her stress levels, and detailed notes about Jake's reactions. They're not studying Luna, Dr. Park explained. They're studying you. Want to know how to make humans form emotional attachments to non-humans. They think this could be useful for controlling people in the future. Jake felt sick to his stomach. Are you saying they're hurting Luna just to see how I'll react? It's worse than that, Dr. Park said, her voice getting quieter. They're planning something they call the critical stress event. They're going to put Luna in real danger. It's life-threatening danger, to see if you'll risk everything to save her. Jake's hands clenched into fists. When? Tomorrow night. They've invited government officials and military people to watch. They want to demonstrate how emotional manipulation can be used as a weapon. Jake stared at the documents, trying to process what he was reading. Dr. Park, this is insane. Luna could die. I know, she said, tears starting to form in her eyes. And the worst part is, they don't even care. To them, she's just a test subject. They've been calling her the specimen in their private meetings. Jake felt anger rising in his chest like a fire. Why are you telling me this? Because I became a doctor to help people, not to hurt them. And because I've seen how you look at Luna, you really care about her, don't you? Jake nodded. I love her. Dr. Park smiled sadly. I thought so. And I think she loves you too, which is why this is so cruel. They're using your feelings against both of you. What exactly are they planning to do? Dr. Park showed him more documents. They're going to expose Luna to a chemical that will make her very sick. The antidote exists, but they're going to put it in a place where you'll have to risk your life to get it. They want to see if you'll do it. Of course I'll do it, Jake said immediately. That's what they're counting on. But Jake, the chemical isn't just dangerous to Luna. If you're exposed to it while trying to save her, it could kill you too. Jake felt like the world was spinning around him, so they're willing to kill both of us for their experiment. Think the research is worth the risk? They've already prepared cover stories about tragic accidents and unforeseen complications. Jake looked out the window at the rain falling on the parking lot. Dr. Park, will you help me stop this? I've been trying to figure out how. I've contacted some people in the government who might be able to help, but I don't know if they'll get here in time. What about the other people in town? If they knew what was really happening, would they help? Dr. Park thought about this. Some of them might. Sheriff Rodriguez has been asking questions about the experiments. And there are others who've been uncomfortable with how secretive everything has become. Then we need to tell them the truth. Over the next few hours, Jake and Dr. Park worked out a plan. They would copy all the evidence onto multiple devices and share it with people they trusted. They would also try to get Luna to safety before the experiment could begin. But when Jake arrived at the facility the next morning, he found that Dr. Stone had increased security. There were guards everywhere, and Luna had been moved to a different room that he couldn't access. Mr. Wilson, Dr. Stone said when she saw him trying to visit Luna, I'm afraid visits are suspended today. We have important preparations to make.
What
kind of preparations? Dr. Stone's cold smile returned. You'll see tonight. I think you'll find it very ... motivating. Jake spent the day feeling helpless and frustrated. He tried calling the sheriff, but was told that Rodriguez was in meetings with federal agents. He tried calling the mayor, but got the same response. It seemed like Dr. Stone had thought of everything. As evening approached, Jake received a message telling him to report to the main laboratory at 9 o'clock. Your presence is required for a special demonstration, the message said. Jake arrived to find the laboratory packed with people. There were government officials in suits, military, officers in uniform, and scientists with notebooks and cameras. In the center of the room was a new machine that looked like a glass chamber with pipes and wires running into it. Luna was already inside the chamber. Her skin was flickering between dark purple and gray. The colors Jake had learned meant she was terrified. When she saw him, her skin shifted to a pale blue for just a moment before returning to the darker colors. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Stone announced, "tonight you will witness a breakthrough in understanding human-alien emotional bonds. We have created a scenario that will test the limits of interspecies attachment." Jake felt his heart racing. "What are you doing to her?" "Mr. Wilson, please take your position in the observation area. The demonstration is about to begin." "I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening." Dr. Stone nodded to the guards, who stepped forward. "Mr. Wilson, you can cooperate, or we can make you cooperate. Either way, you're going to watch what happens next." Jake realized he had no choice. He moved to where Dr. Stone was pointing, but he kept his eyes on Luna. She was looking directly at him, and he could see her trying to be brave. "The subject has been exposed to a mild toxin," Dr. Stone explained to the crowd. "It's not immediately dangerous, but it will become fatal within 30 minutes unless treated with the antidote." Jake felt his blood turn to ice. "You're poisoning her." "The antidote is available," Dr. Stone continued, ignoring Jake's outburst. "But it's located in a chamber that contains the same toxin in a much more concentrated form. Anyone who enters that chamber to retrieve the antidote will face significant risk." Jake looked around the room at all the faces watching him. Some looked excited, others looked uncomfortable, but none of them seemed ready to intervene. "The question we're here to answer," Dr. Stone said, "is whether Mr. Wilson will risk his life to save a being from another world. That tells us about the nature of love and loyalty." Jake looked at Luna, who was now slumped against the wall of the chamber. Her skin was getting paler, and he could see that she was having trouble breathing. "You're all watching someone die," Jake said to the crowd, "and you're doing nothing to stop it." "This is science, Mr. Wilson," Dr. Stone replied. "Sometimes science requires difficult choices." Jake looked at Luna again. She was trying to mouth something to him, and he realized she was saying, "Don't do it." Even while she was dying, she was trying to protect him. In that moment, Jake understood something that Dr. Stone had missed in all her planning. Love wasn't just about being willing to sacrifice yourself for someone else. It was about making the choice that would keep both of you safe. And Jake had an idea about how to do exactly that. "Dr. Stone," he said, his voice getting steadier, "before I make any decisions, I want everyone in this room to know exactly what kind of science they're watching." Dr. Stone's smile faltered for the first time. "Mr. Wilson, I don't think that's necessary." "Oh, but I do," Jake said, pulling out his phone, "especially since I've been recording everything." The room suddenly got very quiet, and Jake knew that the real test was just beginning. Part 5. The Rescue Expanded Story. Jake held up his phone so everyone in the room could see it. "This device has been recording everything that's happened here for the past 2 weeks. Every conversation, every experiment, every moment of cruelty, and it's all been automatically uploading to a secure server." Dr. Stone's face went pale. "Mr. Wilson, you're interfering with a classified government operation." "No," Jake said, his voice getting stronger. "I'm documenting a crime. And in about 30 seconds, copies of everything I've recorded are going to be sent to every major news outlet in the country." The government officials in the room started looking at each other nervously. One of them, a man in an expensive suit, stepped forward. "Dr. Stone, is this true? Are you conducting unauthorized experiments on a sentient being?" "Sir, I can explain," Dr. Stone began, but Jake cut her off. "While you're explaining," Jake said, "Luna is dying in that chamber. The antidote is right there in that other room. Someone needs to get it now." "Mr. Wilson," Dr. Stone said, trying to regain control, "if you enter that chamber, you'll be exposed to a fatal dose of the toxin. You'll die trying to save her." Jake looked at Luna, who was now barely conscious. Her skin had turned a sickly gray color, and she was breathing in short, painful gasps. "Maybe," he said, "but at least I'll die doing something right instead of standing here watching someone else do something wrong." As Jake started walking toward the chamber that contained the antidote, something unexpected happened. Dr. Park stepped in front of him. "Wait," she said, "there's another way." She pulled out a small device that looked like a remote control. "I've been working on this for the past week. It's a neutralizing agent that can counteract the toxin without anyone having to enter the Dangerous chamber. Double quotes. Dr. Stone's eyes widened. Dr. Park, you were ordered not to interfere with this experiment. I'm a doctor, Dr. Park replied firmly. My first responsibility is to do no harm. And this experiment violates every medical ethics principle I've ever learned. She pressed a button on the device, and a fine mist began spraying into Luna's chamber. Within seconds, Luna's skin began to regain some of its natural color. She lifted her head and looked directly at Jake, her eyes clearing. But Dr. Stone wasn't finished. Guards arrest Dr. Park for interfering with a classified operation. Before the guards could move, Sheriff Rodriguez stepped into the room, followed by several federal agents. Actually, the sheriff said, "We're here to arrest you, Dr. Stone, for conducting illegal experiments on a sentient being." Dr. Stone looked around the room desperately. "You don't understand. This research could be vital for national security." "What we understand," said one of the federal agents, "is that you've been operating without proper authorization and conducting experiments that violate both domestic and international law." As the agents placed handcuffs on Dr. Stone, Jake rushed to Luna's chamber. Dr. Park was already working on opening it, and within minutes, Jake was able to reach Luna. "Are you okay?" he asked, taking her hand. Luna's skin immediately brightened to a warm golden color. "I am now," she said softly. "But Jake, you were willing to risk your life for me." "Of course I was. I love you." Luna's skin began to glow with the most beautiful colors Jake had ever seen. "And I love you. I'm glad we didn't have to prove it by dying." As the chaos in the room continued, with officials arguing and scientists packing up equipment, Jake helped Luna out of the chamber. She was weak, but alive, and that was all that mattered to him. Over the next few days, the story exploded across national news. The recordings Jake made showed the world exactly what had been happening in Millbrook. Dr. Stone was arrested and charged with multiple crimes. The government officials who had approved her research were forced to resign. But the most important outcome was what happened to Luna. A special committee was formed to determine her legal status. For the first time in human history, a being from another world was granted refugee status and the right to remain on Earth as long as she wanted. Luna chose to stay in Millbrook. The facility where she had been held was converted into the first Interspecies Cultural Center. Luna became its director, working to prepare humanity for the day when more of her people might visit Earth. Jake continued working at his garage. He also became Luna's partner in every sense of the word. We're legally married in a ceremony that made headlines around the world. The first wedding between a human and an alien, officiated by Sheriff Rodriguez in the town park. The people of Millbrook, who had been divided when Luna first arrived, came together to support the couple. Even those who had initially been afraid of Luna grew to love her kind nature and her genuine desire to help others. Luna used her natural healing abilities to help people in the community. She could sense physical and emotional pain in ways that human doctors couldn't. And she worked with Dr. Park to develop new treatments that combined human medicine with the knowledge of her people. A year later, Luna received a message from her homeworld. Her people had won their war and were safe. They invited her to return home, but they also understood if she chose to stay on Earth. "What do you want to do?" Jake asked, when Luna told him about the message. Luna's skin glowed with that warm yellow color that meant she was happy and content. "I want to stay here with you. Earth is my home now." "Oh, but don't you miss your own people?" "I do," Luna admitted. "But I've learned something important. Home isn't just a place. It's wherever you're with the people you love." 3 years after Luna's arrival in Millbrook, the town had become a model for interspecies cooperation. Luna's people had established an embassy there. Another alien species had begun making contact with Earth through the center Luna had created, the pole that had once been used to contain. Luna, during her darkest days, was transformed into a monument. But instead of commemorating suffering, it celebrated hope. It stood in the center of town with a plaque that read, "Love knows no boundaries, not even those between worlds." Jake and Luna would often sit beside the monument in the evenings, watching the stars together. Luna would point out her home constellation, and Jake would tell her stories about human mythology and the pictures people saw in the sky. "Do you ever regret what happened?" Jake asked one night. "All the pain you went through?" Luna was quiet for a moment, her skin shifting through soft blues and purples as she thought. "I regret the cruelty," she said finally, "but I don't regret coming here. If I hadn't crashed on Earth, I never would have met you. And meeting you taught me that love is the strongest force in any universe." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "And if our love story started with someone trying to use it as a weapon?" Luna's skin brightened with warm golds and silvers. "Especially then, because it proves that real love can't be manufactured or manipulated. It can only grow naturally between hearts that choose to trust each other." As they sat together under the stars, Jake realized that Dr. Stone had been wrong about everything. She had thought that love could be controlled and used as a tool. But what Jake and Luna had found together was something much more powerful than any experiment could create. It was the simple truth that when two beings choose to care for each other, they can overcome any obstacle, even the distance between worlds.